The podcast you're about to hear involves true stories, which may contain graphic content that is not suitable for children. Listener's discretion is advised. This is Esoteric Oddities.
Hey guys and ghouls.
Are you tired of that yet?
No, we don't care.
So me and Jonathan went to the grocery store to pick up a few surprises.
Oh, yeah, we actually have some fun things coming up.
Yeah.
Actually, by the time this comes out, they might be out. So you may have already seen them.
Oh.
Any
John, edit that out.
Yeah.
So me and Jonathan went to the grocery store, and there was this fucking plush cat. You know, Jonathan, it's like all black.
Okay, they're Halloween decorations, and I am drawn to Halloween
He hates
decorations.
how I explain things.
Like a fucking fly to a flame, or a moth to a light bulb, or a chubbier version of myself, which is hard to believe, to a candy store. And yeah, it was a little plush cat with a button that said "Try me."
So he pressed "Try me," and this fucking plush cat, the head starts spinning around, and it's like screaming.
It's like a hissing cat.
Yeah, and it's like the head keeps going around and around, and it almost falls off the shelf because it's like moving as this is happening.
So then I press it again thinking it'll turn it off, but no, it extended it.
Yeah, like longer. And he's like, what do I do? And I was like, drop it and walk away. Like,
There
what?
was
Why are
like
we still here?
A ceramic mug and everybody was staring. So
Fine. People generally stare at us.
I honestly don't like those things that you push the buttons on them, like Halloween decorations or Christmas decorations.
Yeah, because I don't know what's going to happen.
Push the button, but it's always something annoying.
My mom used to have this, it was like this ceramic set. It was just like one big thing, and it was like a waterfall.
What?
Yeah.
No, I'm saying what is it? Was it a Halloween decoration?
Yeah, it was.
Oh.
It like had all these pumpkins, and the pumpkins were like pushing other pumpkins. No, they were ghosts.
Oh.
Pushing pumpkins in barrels.
That's
and
spooky.
Stuff like that. And it's like this big like house looking thing, and there's like a
Oh,
water.
Hallmark had those. Like when I was little, I used to go in and see the little trinkets and shit. Like that is some detailed ass stuff.
I'm saying.
And I was like, when I'm older, I'm gonna have that. And here I am, and I'm like, I'm sorry,
I
not
don't
paying
have shit. I'm poor.
$75 for your spooky haunted house that sometimes makes noises. Oh wait, hold on. Speaking of Halloween decorations, I still have that pumpkin from last year. It's still alive and
Why
well.
don't you put it out?
I should, because we
It'll
keep it
die
over
in
in the
your
podcast room.
house.
It's been in my house. It just hasn't touched the wall.
Put it there.
Yeah, I
front,
should.
In the middle. Of
Yeah, we
everything
kind
else.
of re-upped our little podcast space, and it literally means nothing to you because this
You
is
can't see,
audio. But
It's fine. It makes us feel good.
yeah, we got a nice little shelf on the wall. I almost died yesterday while we were making it because we're making a pizza. Have you ever had a gluten-free pizza?
Nope.
So, I understand that I have a friend who can't eat gluten. You know, it's not like a choice. She would much rather eat gluten, but she can't have the gluten. So we do this gluten-free pizza, and I go to make it. And how I usually make my pizza, forgive me for my stupidity, is to put it directly on the rack because it makes it more crispy.
Oh, right. I don't think we could do that with gluten-free.
I didn't know that. It like melted. It like the edges of it just like started drooping down. And it started like smoking like so bad to the point that I thought we were starting a fire. And the smoke detectors upstairs and the ones down here kept going off. So we were literally running around, and I was down here putting the shelf up, and Carly's upstairs running up and down the stairs. It was actually really fucking
Jonathan,
funny.
Chris. I could just see
Well, you guys, we have such a great episode for you today. Our host, hi, that's us.
Yeah,
I'm Jonathan.
I'm Carol.
It's
I'm sick, so I'm delirious. My body hurts, and all that good stuff. But I still sound the same.
And this is Esoteric Oddities.
We have a special guest. What was that?
I just knocked over an entire thing of water, and it's on my charger. It's so fine, you guys. The show is going great so far.
It's going great.
But what I was going to say is our guest later is my friend Craig, who has some really, really good stories. His family was actually on like ghost adventures, and
yeah, the story is really predominant, right? Like if people heard what he was talking about, they would know.
Maybe.
Oh,
maybe.
okay.
Maybe local people.
Okay. That's enough for me.
Definitely our Philly listeners are going to know.
Amazing.
But for those of y'all who don't know, for the month of October, we are having special guests come in and talk about their own personal paranormal stories. And we have asked you guys to send us your stories, and you came through. So thanks for coming through. If you guys still have more stories, send them over to odditiespodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear them and then possibly read them on an episode. So yeah, we're going to read your spooky stories.
This story is from a girl named Mandy.
Shouts out, Mandy.
So, it starts, "This happened to my grandmother, Francesca, or Cheska. It's a story she told me in response to my own story, which I will tell later. My experience had to do with dreams. TLDR version is that I had nightmares for an entire week, and then the last day, my best friend's cousin died. But I will tell you her story. She was raised in a family with 8+ kids. She was the youngest, and her eldest sister, Anna, took care of her like a mother, so much that she called her mom. Although her actual mother was very loving, her sister and her had a special bond. My grandmother had been sick for a long time with an infection and had to have her lung amputated. And her eldest...
Her what?
Yeah, her lung.
Okay.
And her eldest sister took care of her during that time, while their mother worked to bring food to the family. Time rolls, and they're married and living in different cities. This is the grandmother and the sister.
Okay.
There were no phones, and people still largely used messengers. Real people bringing messages from afar. I guess it's like message in a bottle type thing.
Wait, you know that's just like a mailman, right?
Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
Cool. They used to write letters...
Oh my god.
Why am I so stupid? They used to write each other letters and visit each other every now and then, and they'd always know when one or the other would come. Shortly after Anna married, she gets pregnant. Now her husband was a really, really bad person, and he ultimately didn't give a fuck about Anna, but they didn't know that. Anna was too far away from anyone to know, but they wouldn't have dreamed of what was going to happen with her. One night, my grandmother is sewing for some customer as she used to work as a tailor. She hears someone approaching the door, and she looks up to see whoever it is. And then she hears Anna saying her name, Francesca. And she thinks it's Anna, but wondering at the same time why is she there now, without notice, and why so late. But anyway, she sees her sister at the door, looking at her, staring there at the door, but looking sad for a few seconds. Then she looks down to get all the needles and scraps of fabric from her lap to get the door. After she looks up to the door again, Anna is not there. She gets up and walks to the front and then around the house calling for Anna, but seeing no carriage, horse, no car, nothing. She goes back in, sits down while the realization sinks in, and she starts crying. And crying because I think she knew by then and also figured out she came to say goodbye, but not in a happy way. But that there was something incredibly heavy about it all. My grandpa comes home and my grandmother is crying and saying she saw Anna and starts worrying and is really upset about what she saw. They manage to calm her down and agree to send a messenger. One day later comes the messenger before their messenger is even able to get there, and he comes with bad news.
Oh no.
She had a baby a little premature, and she died a few days after giving birth. People thought it was weird, and my grandmother was beyond heartbroken. She had this suspicion, because her sister had always been the healthy one, and a sturdy, strong woman, and something didn't add up. So they go and inspect what the hell happened, and why she died after giving birth, etc. Turns out her scumbag husband left her to bleed to death. She kept bleeding for 4 days, and he didn't call a doctor to do anything about it because he was a dirty scumfuck and was already interested in another woman at the time. So he kept calming Anna down, saying she'd be okay because he figured she was dead and he'd be a free man. Now my entire family was livid, and her brothers almost wanted to kill the guy, but somehow by a miracle this dude lived because no one really wanted to plot a murder. Sadly, at the time, it was hard to prove he killed her by neglect. Shortly after he married this other woman, and they had a miscarriage after miscarriage, and only once did they have a child that survived. It was a girl who has some really severe genetic defects. She has the intelligence of a 7-year-old. He's never been able to conceive a normal child with this woman, and his story is a tragedy on its own. He died this year, and nobody really missed him, not even his own kids, because one is too mentally challenged to understand, and the other, well, his dad killed his mother, so I don't think he likes him. And that was Mandys Story.
That was spooky, but tell me you just heard that.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, we're just gonna pretend it didn't happen.
It sounded like a fart.
No, I literally have no idea what that sound was. Okay.
Is anyone home?
Mark and Reese are upstairs, but that's fine. Wow, Mandy, that's a very disturbing story. So you think that when she came to see her, she was already dead?
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
Oh,
and she was
that's
saying goodbye.
Creepy and sad.
Right.
How do you leave your wife? They're dying for 4
People are really,
for
really
4 days.
shitty people,
For 4
right?
days.
Saying, oh, like, you'll be okay, you'll be okay.
Oh, no. Well, that's fucked. I mean, glad he's dead, I guess.
Right.
Well, he was a scum fuck. But thank you for sharing, Mandy. Okay, so this next story comes from Kylie from Vancouver, and it is called The Haunted Child Care Center. I'm a 26-year-old female, and I work in a very small child care center in Australia. This is the story of my first encounter with the thing that lives in my center. I had just finished my diploma of early childhood when I was lucky enough to be offered a job at the center. Being a broke student with a partner who had just lost his job, I was over the moon. I began to take any and all shifts offered to me. 2 weeks into working, I was rostered into my first close shift with the newest educator. It was her third shift with us. All week, staff told me stories of the ghost, and I just thought they were hazing me and I would laugh them off. It was 7:45 p.m. on a Friday night, and I was washing out paint pots at the preschool room sink when I heard a child giggle from the next room over. Now, our center closes at 7, and all children were required to be collected by then, and I had been through the whole center to make sure it was empty. Besides myself and the young assistant educator who was cleaning the bathroom, all staff were gone too. And we were locked in the center so nobody could have gotten in. Creeped out, I turned back to the sink, and 5 minutes later, I hear a frightened squeal as the assistant educator bursts in the door that connects the rooms to the children's bathroom, crying. When I asked her what's wrong, she tearfully tells me she had heard someone whisper hello from behind her in the bathroom. That immediately puts the shit up in me. I guess that's something they say in Canada or Australia. That immediately puts the shit up in me, and I tell her to empty her mop bucket so we can go home. She refuses to re-enter the bathroom, so I quickly go in and empty it out and sit it outside. Because not everything was done, I decided to leave a note for the girls doing the Monday open shift with a bullshit excuse. We walk to the office, which is attached to the toddler room. While we are both locked in the office, we hear a strange noise, sort of a stifled hiccup from the outside of the door, leading out of the office and into the toddler room. The office door has a large window in it. Through the window, we watch as a huge chunk of blue tack flies off the furthest wall in the room and lands in the middle of it. My assistant was hysterical by now and threatening to leave, and the last thing I wanted to do was be left there alone, so I quickly write the note, lock up the laptops in a safe, and rush out of the office, switching the lights off as I go. As we're locking the gate of the center, we both watch as the office light switches back on. We both run to our cars, refusing to go back in. The assistant handed her resignation letter on Monday morning. I still work there now, and although I've had many experiences in the 3 years I've been there, I'll never get how scared I got the first time I encountered whatever calls my workplace home. Wow. Ew, I have like goosebumps.
I don't like that things were like saying things to her.
And throwing tack.
And throwing, like, please don't throw things at me. Like, you're angry.
No, that was me. I'm so sorry. Did that scare the shit out of you?
Did you see my face?
Yes, that was me. I'm sorry.
I was like, what's going on? Sorry, ghost. I didn't mean to upset you.
Yo, your face, like, I didn't mean to, like, do that. I'm sorry, but, like, Your face was so funny.
I was like, are you hearing this?
Christ. Okay, yeah, I won't work at a childcare center because they're haunted and kids poop on the floor.
And they throw tacks.
Yeah, no thanks. Wow. Well, thanks for letting us share your story, Kylie.
So this next story is from my friend Veronica.
Our friend Veronica.
Well, Craig was our friend, and you didn't say that.
Hey, Ronnie.
It's our friend Veronica. She's from my hometown, Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Ooh, she's got a spooky story for us.
She sure does. So she says, I've always been one to wake up a few times in the night to pee, restless legs, whatever. So I know I was awake. About 5 years ago, I rolled over one night and saw an old-timey riverboat-looking man. 3-piece suit, pocket watch, gray hair, and handlebar mustache, holding a lantern. He leaned down a little to my level and said, "Look between the lines." I don't know what it meant, but I think about it a lot. To just be more cautious or question things around me, I guess I'll never know. I, of course, got spooked the fuck out, so I rolled back over towards the wall. So again, I know I was awake because I was moving, and it wasn't sleep paralysis, because I've never experienced that. So that's Veronica's story.
Short and sweet and scary as hell.
Look between the lines.
Oh no, that's creepy, but it's also like inspiring.
Like
but
really
mostly creepy.
Deering, but
like,
it's kind of. Yeah.
Did you just say deering?
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. Like, think about it. How many times do you like think about something and you just take it for what it is and you don't think about
All the
anything else?
time. I'm so fucking kidding. I overthink everything.
Same. I always look between the fucking lines.
I only know between the lines. When somebody's
Okay.
too nice, I'm like,
what's
going
I'm
on
like,
here?
where's like.
Oh my god, we should have followed up with her and asked like what. I wonder what was going on in her life. It could have meant like something. Maybe it was like her ancestor, and it was someone telling her to like read between the lines and like evaluate your situation.
True.
I don't know. I wonder what was going on with her.
We'll have to ask her.
Yeah, spooky. Wow.
Spooky. Ooh.
Okay, so more whispers from Canada. Hey, this is from Bailey from Canada, and it's titled "She Whispers in My Ear."
Love these whispers we're getting.
So Bailey says, when I was about 15, I lived in a 100-year-old house with my parents and brother. The house had a basement and a main floor. Being a teenager, I chose the room in the basement to isolate myself from the rest of the family, and I found the room to be cool because it was full of mirrors.
I don't like that.
There were mirrors on the ceiling. Okay.
Kinky.
And on different sections of the walls, as well as one across from my bed, which was built in so I couldn't move it around. So the mirror was built into the wall. The first few nights were peaceful and I had no problems going to sleep. After the first month, it was a late night and I was on my computer browsing YouTube videos. Usually, the mirror across from my bed reflects a faint glow of my laptop screen so I can see myself in some of the areas beside me. As time went by, I all of a sudden felt the faint sensation of a hand on my shoulder. Startled, I looked up in the mirror and saw a woman completely dressed in black clothing resting her hand on my shoulder, just watching me. Freaked out, I quickly got up and turned on my light. Nothing was there. I felt quite paranoid that night, so I slept with the lights on. A week goes by where nothing happened until one night, I was about to fall asleep and I felt the warm breath as somebody whispered something into my ear. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but once again, I jumped up and turned the light on. I never said anything in that moment because I didn't want anyone to judge me or not believe me. Each and every night until I turned 20, I would hear this faint whisper in my ear before I fell asleep, never being able to recognize what it was trying to tell me. After a while, I stopped reacting to it because it became so normal for me. It wasn't until I was sitting with my family at the dinner table one night when my dad mentioned how creepy the basement was. I agreed and decided to share my experiences. Uncertain, my dad looked me in the eye and told me when he was younger he slept in that room and he had similar experiences. The reason they occur is because my great-grandmother hung herself in the basement outside of that room about 35 years earlier. She wore black all the time because she was a widow and she was grieving her late husband. The woman in the black who touched my shoulder and would whisper in my ear at night was very likely her. I felt very uneasy to sleep there, and we ended up moving to a condo a few months later. The sighting and whispers since have stopped, but I question if she still resides in that house with the new family that lives there. For their sake, I hope she moved on. Wow, Bailey.
Wow, I feel like regardless of it being my grandmother, I would still be freaked out.
Yeah, I would too. Clearly she was.
Right.
Like, sorry that that was a shitty situation with your grandma, but holy shit. Don't know how you slept in that room.
Right, I would be like, I heard one whisper, I'm out.
No, I need to go.
And all those mirrors would freak me out.
No.
I'd like...
You would see something. That's like such a fear sometimes I would rather, like, if something's behind me, I would much rather just like be like, okay, it's there, and not fucking look up in a mirror and see anything.
Insane.
A woman in all black. Imagine that. You're trying to sleep. Or no, she was like watching YouTube videos and just like the faint light of oh my God.
I'm saying that's a lot.
Ew, I like have chills right now thinking about it. Just like you're sitting there and like but you're looking at it across the room.
I'm literally looking up mirrors on ceilings.
You're going to find some dirty things. Oh, wow. Wow, frick. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing your stories. If you want us to read your story, send it on over. I can't guarantee we're going to read everybody's stories, but send them anyway, because we'll probably get around to them, because maybe after October we'll continue doing these things, and we love some spooky, freaking stories. So if you got one, or your parents got one, or your friends got one, tell them to send it over to odditiespodcast@gmail.com. That is the best place to send these types of things. And I think it's about that time.
Let's bring on our guest.
Let's bring on our guest, Craig. And we're here with Craig. Hi, Craig.
Hi, guys.
How you doing?
I'm great.
So before we jump into this, Craig has got apparently some crazy stories, of which I have not heard yet. But I just kind of wanted to talk about how we met. We met on Grindr.
No, what? Shh. You're not supposed to say that part.
He told you not to say that.
No, but we met on a film set a couple years ago. It was probably 2013.
No.
2015.
It was right after we left film school.
No, I was still in school.
Oh, no, you're right. It was the year before.
It was before
14.
No, it was before 2014, because
We
it had to have
moved in
been
together
2013.
2014.
Anyway, nobody gives a fuck. But we worked on a film set. I don't remember the first day I met you, but I do remember going to a party.
Oh, God.
It was a Friday night, and we had an early shoot time on a Saturday morning. Do you know what I'm going to say?
Yo, I know exactly what you're going to say. It was like the worst day of my life.
Oh.
So we are drinking a little bit. We're at someone's apartment, and they had a electric stove. And I don't know who told you that this was a good idea, but I think you felt like you had something to
Well, he was
prove.
making mac and cheese, and he took it off the stove, and then he loudly announced, "No one touch the stove. The stove is hot."
So you wanted to touch the stove, I'm guessing.
You know.
So
I'm drunk and I can't feel anything.
homeboy puts his hand like on the burner for more than like 1 Mississippi,
Stop.
2 Mississippi.
Crazy Craig.
And then, I think it hit you. And
Well, I remember like looking at my hand, and I could literally see the imprint of
the coils.
Coils, and I remember saying out loud, "I'm about to be in the worst pain I've ever been in my entire life."
True.
Reaching over and grabbing a glass of whiskey from like a girl and just chugging it.
Yeah.
And then like slowly as time went by, my hand started to throb.
Oh, yeah, that's the worst.
Do you remember how we ended that night, though?
In my apartment lobby, you were crying and I was bandaging your hand.
And then I had to ride my bike home.
Yes.
One-handed, crying.
Yeah.
Aww.
And then you came to set the next day. Okay, and also he was doing the lighting on this.
The gaffer.
Yeah.
so
very physically demanding.
Yeah,
yes,
literally.
where lots of twisting actions, lots of hoisting up light actions, and that wasn't even towards the end of the shoot, was it?
It was like the middle.
Yeah, so you had a little ways to go. Yeah, and that was a pretty gnarly blister.
It wasn't so bad though, because I think I burned all the nerves off in my hand
Love
at the
that.
time. So like it hurt really badly the first night, and then when I woke up the second day, I just couldn't feel anything. So,
That's great.
You know.
That's why
amazing.
I
That's
drink.
what we aim for.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
don't feel anything.
I don't want to feel anything.
I remember busting into my house, and my house was filled with people about to go out to a bar, and I just remember like the door flies open, and I just walk in screaming, "I burned my hand!"
On purpose.
On purpose.
On
because-
purpose, being just a dumbass.
Oh, good times. Okay, so you've got some crazy stories.
Yeah. So
Go
just
ahead.
a little bit. I'll just say it. Growing up, I grew up next to what is considered one of the most haunted places in America, Pennhurst State School. Most people know of it now. It's been on every ghost show, every like paranormal book and paranormal special. But growing up as a kid, no one knew it existed at the time. And I lived literally right next door to it. I'll get into a little bit more, but I actually kind of owe my very existence to it. I owe a lot of things to Pennhurst.
I love that.
Yeah, and it's just sort of always like was a very present thing in my life.
That's interesting. That's crazy. So when you DM'd me on Instagram, I didn't know you like lived. I didn't know that's where your childhood was.
Yeah.
I thought that that's where you like lived currently, and you had some current stories. So
No, I've got like 25 years.
I don't know how the fuck
Wow,
we
that's
didn't talk
amazing.
about this before.
The thing is, it's like to me, it's so. I don't know. I don't even think
It
about
might
it
be
because
situational. Like you hear something and be like, "Oh, well, this happened."
you know
this time."
people was like, "Oh my God, Pennhurst!" Like people would come from other states to go visit Pennhurst,
right.
and I grew up going on Saturday morning bike rides through Pennhurst. My whole family on our bikes, you know. My
Yeah, so
sisters
it's
would
like
just riding
nothing
through.
to you.
It's nothing to me. Like I remember back when it was. See, like what a lot of people don't realize is Pennhurst was completely forgotten for years,
Oh,
and they just when they left it, they just locked the doors, walked away. They left everything in there. The library was still full of books. All the patient medical records were there. I mean, just equipment and furniture and everything was still there, and they just let the woods reclaim it. And so it had been completely overgrown. I mean, you had to kind of go through the woods to get there. And it wasn't until that book Weird Pennsylvania came out.
Oh yeah,
Oh
we
my
had.
God, we had. So I know Mark Moran's daughter. She works.
She
with
was on
me.
the podcast.
Really?
Yeah,
Yes,
she was on
the
2
podcast,
episodes of the
Maisie,
podcast.
and she's amazing.
Yeah, it's episode I think 51 and 52.
Yeah.
His daughter was in. So
Yeah.
hey, Maisie, if you're listening to it,
Hey, Maze.
Hey, thanks for changing my life.
tell Dad we say hi.
True.
Okay, so now they do the haunted house there, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about it?
I am actually in favor for it. It's actually on record. My dad is on record as being the only person in the town in favor of the haunted house.
Wow. Yes, Dad.
He was in the newspaper, like a photo of him and everything. The caption was
All in favor of Pennhurst.
the only man in the town in favor, and we have our reasons why.
Right.
But honestly, it's done more for the preservation of those
Yeah,
buildings.
that's very
Like,
true. And just to clarify, if that didn't make sense, it was like an abandoned asylum, right?
It's an abandoned. It wasn't necessarily an asylum. It was considered a state school. So what it was really was it was like a repository for the sick, the mentally challenged. A lot of people think of it as like, oh, it was like a place where they sent people to be tortured. You know, it has this sort of negative reputation, but it was a home essentially for people who couldn't take care of themselves,
Okay.
and at a certain point didn't have anyone to take care of them. So they
Right.
became wards of the state. They became the state's responsibility, and the state was like, well, what do we do with these people? So they would put them in places like this, and you know what would really happen was they would get overcrowded, and it just wasn't enough money
Right.
so to take care of them. So
Okay.
And you said that you owe your life to Pennhurst.
Right.
Why did you say that?
So my parents actually met there.
Oh,
Oh,
amazing.
shit.
They both worked there. My
Wow.
dad was like a maintenance worker / like facilities guy, and my mom, her job title, and this isn't politically correct to say, but her job title was she worked with profoundly retarded men.
Okay.
That was her job title. That was,
Right.
that was
Oh,
the term
okay.
at the time. And the first thing my dad ever said to my mom actually was they were at a bar, and he walked up to her and went, "Hey, don't you work at Pennhurst?" And the rest is history.
Wow.
And then here you
amazing.
sit.
Here I sit.
Right.
Here I
Yeah,
sit.
that is really, really nice.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
Wow, that's cool that you lived like near there too.
yeah, and all their friends worked at Pennhurst. So like everyone I've pretty much like growing up, like everyone
Like
was
has
knew
the
everyone. Everyone has a story about Pennhurst. So for me, I thought it was like, oh, everyone's got their story about their local hometown abandoned,
Right. And then meanwhile,
insane asylum, quote unquote.
Okay, so do you think it's haunted then?
Yes, I don't know if it's to the degree that people
hype it up to be.
Hype it up to be. I think that there's definitely a lot of negative energy there.
Okay.
And my family has seen some stuff. We've experienced some things.
Yes, your family was on.
Yeah, my brother was on Ghost Adventures. My dad was interviewed for Ghost Hunters and Extreme Paranormal. They didn't use his interviews because he refused to admit to.
Right.
They were like, "Tell us about the child tortures."
And
he's
he
like,
wasn't-
what child
We didn't
torture?
torture. There were no children even here at the time.
Right.
Right.
Like past the 60s, there was no children there.
And because it wasn't fitting their story.
Yeah, they're like, cut it out.
Exactly. They were really looking for a specific narrative.
Right.
And then I was on America's Haunts, but that was more about the haunted house.
Well, y'all,
What haunted house?
it looks like we're in for a little bit of a treat. So do you want to start at the beginning, I guess?
Sure. So I talked a little bit about going on like Saturday morning bike rides, and that was a real thing we used to do. Like when the weather was nice, like every week we'd all get on our bikes, and my sister with her training wheels, and we'd ride through Pennhurst, and we'd sort of have to like pick our ways through paths that were overgrown. And at
So
the
wait,
time,
hold on. How old are you at this point?
I mean, at 5 to
Okay.
whenever that book came out.
Wow.
Okay. So like elementary schoolish.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
Okay, your early years. Okay.
And before that, my older brother. So it's just something we always did.
Right.
And back then, when no one knew about it, you could get in one of the buildings because people in our hometown would still go in, right? They'd still sneak in.
Right.
Teenagers would go in there to drink.
All right.
They actually set a fire in there one time and
Jesus
burned
Christ.
an entire ward out.
Oh, love that.
Yeah, you'd always go in and find empty beer cans and stuff, but everything was still there. So, we go on the bike rides, and like my parents would sit down to drink some water, and me and my brother would hold our breaths because they'd be like, the scariest thing I think about those buildings was the amount of asbestos that was in them.
Oh, that's hilarious. So have you ever been in there?
Oh, hundreds of times.
Describe to me what it looks like inside.
So back then, when you used to walk in, it was just these big kind of like open spaces, and the paint was just peeling off everywhere. And so it looked like every wall was like a cracked oil painting.
Oh, wow.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. And all the old furniture was made out of like injected plastic.
Oh, wow.
So it would last forever.
Right.
It's that
Right.
real old
Wow.
like 50s style plastic. And it was just, so you'd see these weird like form molded couches
Yeah.
and beds everywhere. And I distinctly remember one time going into the library, and that was like one of the most bizarre things, because the books had been there for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
No, 30 years. And because it closed in 86, I think. And, books after a period of time will start to like decay.
Yeah. And
So
yellow
yeah,
and
it's just
things
like
that.
this very bizarre, like molded, decaying library.
Ooh, that's creepy.
Right. I always imagine like American Horror Story Asylum.
Yeah.
I don't know if
That's
that's
what
Well,
I'm
I
saying.
think Asylum actually is heavily
on
based on
Pennhurst.
Pennhurst.
Oh my
and
God.
institutions like that.
amazing.
Yeah. It's also so, I don't know what it is, but there's something so fucking creepy to me about like just the site of something that's been abandoned for a really long time, but everything's like kind of where it's supposed to
Yeah.
be.
That
like
is the
everything
weird-
is
that's
just in
really-
place.
Just that like everybody up and left.
Well, it's funny. When it closed down, my neighbors broke into it, and they broke into the morgue, and the morgue.
that would literally be me. I would be that neighbor.
You really would.
The morgue still had the plates, like, because when someone would die, they would like engrave a plate
Yeah.
Right.
and put it on the door,
Right.
and then it would travel with the body. And they broke in and they stole a plate that was like, James Johnson, Pinhead, because they still would use like those old kind of term.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Wow.
and
That's
you
bizarre.
could go in and.
Oh my God. I thought you were going to say they opened it and he was still in there.
no.
The
They
original
cleared
Pinhead.
that
Can
out.
you imagine? Oh, God.
But you could go in there and like root through patient files.
Oh wow.
That's-
That would be what I would be most interested in.
There's rooms full of typewriters. It's funny, in middle school, I used to take my friends in there all the time.
That's where you would take the babes.
Oh, yeah, if you want to impress someone.
Take some
Take them
Pennhurst.
to the decaying library, baby. Come explore my fiction center. Okay,
Well,
sorry.
yeah, people, I was like a weird kid, obviously.
Heard that.
In like middle school. And my friends were weird kids, so we thought that was awesome.
Right.
They don't
Yeah.
want to come and steal souvenirs. We'd find like children's blocks.
Wow.
Ooh, that makes me
Toys.
uncomfortable.
Right. I don't know why.
A friend and I found up in the attic of one of the greenhouses. We found just a pile of Halloween costumes, like old Halloween
Oh my
costumes.
god, those ones
Did
are so scary.
Did you take them?
No, we didn't take them. But this years later, one of the security guards told me that there was a group of people living up there,
Oh.
and he said that they were on patrol, and one time we saw a Domino's pizza car pull up, and a guy came out of the building in a chicken suit. It was cold. He was just wearing one of the costumes that he found to stay warm.
Oh, that's sad.
Right. In a chicken suit.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure where you're going with that, but that's actually really sad.
Yeah. So one of the other things too is when I was growing up, my parents' friends would come over, and it would always, they'd always reminisce and talk and tell Pennhurst stories. So I heard some of like the most bizarre things growing up.
Oh, you gotta give it to us.
Right.
So
wanna hear
a story
bizarre.
that my mom always liked to tell back when she was a nurse's aide was about a guy who he jumped out of the second story window. Jumped out the window, broke both of his legs, and just kept running.
Oh,
And they found him like a mile and a half away.
holy shit!
Oh my god.
Yeah, just like sprinting. Because there were. You gotta understand the thing about Pennhurst is like not everyone was locked up. It wasn't. There were different wards, with
Right,
different
right.
levels of security. Some wards were locked down
Right.
24 hours. Those are people that might be violent or would get into fights or lash out.
Mm-hmm.
Then there were people that were just, they would be allowed to
Kinda
roam
to
the grounds. They'd be
themselves.
allowed to hang out.
Yeah.
She would tell me a story about a guy who every day would just ride the bus. He would just sit there was a bus that would go around Pennhurst because it was such a big facility. And, you'd ask him every day, you'd be like, where you going, Sean? And he'd be like, I'm taking the bus to heaven. Taking the bus to heaven. Every day he said he was taking the bus to heaven.
Wow.
Oh, Sean, I hope you got there, buddy.
Right. I hope your dreams came true.
That's kind of fucked up, but like, I get it.
Yeah, but that's the kind of, there was, Pennhurst also had the world's oldest hydrocephalic.
What?
What is that?
So a hydrocephalic, it's actually very, very sad, but he was the product of a failed iodine abortion.
Oh no.
Oh.
And if it doesn't work out right, you just end up with a kid with horrible birth defects.
Oh no.
And hydrocephalicism is water on the brain.
Oh.
So his head
oh, is
was
this
just huge.
like the
Right.
Rubber Johnny video on E-Bombs World we were literally just talking about?
Yes. But he had a huge head that would ripple.
Oh
'Cause it was
no.
and he had flippers for arms and legs.
Oh wow.
And the thing is that they said too is they said he wasn't even necessarily that brain damaged.
Oh shit! So he was just his brain was there, but he was trapped in this.
Yeah,
fucked
and
up-
they would hang
no.
like children's mobiles above his crib. And he would just bat at him.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's fucked up inside.
And then when
Wow.
Pennhurst ended up closing, they moved him, and I think he ended up dying shortly afterwards.
No. What?
Yeah.
do you know how old he was at that point when they moved him?
I don't remember. I think somewhere late 20s.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, you don't
Wow.
usually survive that long.
Yeah.
With this type of, you're so fragile.
Right.
Right.
So,
Damn.
but they would talk about they always talk about how Pennhurst was the wildest place to work when you were
I would
they were it
assume,
was
I would
such
imagine.
a big campus facility like that. It was crazy. It was just filled with, it was never closed, 24 hours a day, just constant shifts of people going everywhere. And
How many people were working there? How many people do you think?
1,000.
Oh,
Holy
wow.
shit, that's a lot more than I thought.
And it's just such a bizarre campus because a lot of people, if you know anything about Pennhurst, you know that it's all of these huge buildings, wards, administrative buildings. There's a theater, but underneath everything are tunnels that connect all the buildings. Huge underground tunnels.
Fuck that
Yeah.
noise. No
Yeah.
thanks.
So you just have people all over the place, above ground, underneath it,
Okay,
all
wait,
the
what,
time. Go.
what's the point of the tunnels?
For
When
weather-
people die, they don't.
No.
Oh,
I
They're
mean,
just gonna
maybe.
throw them down there.
well, no, not throw them down there, but I feel like I've definitely seen movies, because we know how true they are, that they're the patients die, they just go down under, American Horror Story.
I would assume the tunnels are for if something happens, it's a safe place.
No, it was more for.
You tried.
It
I
was more
did.
for if it was snowing
Oh, okay.
and you had to move patients people in wheelchairs, and it's like if
okay,
it's
yeah.
raining or snowing, you don't want to take them outside, and also for just transporting like goods and services and
Right.
maintenance things.
Right.
And also, if you need to they run pipes. What a lot of people don't know too is that underneath the tunnels are subtunnels.
Okay, this is very meta.
Yeah, and it's funny actually. The guys that owned the building, the guys that bought the building, would actually bring my dad down all the time to like give tours. They bought it essentially with the hopes of tearing it down and building housing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But then the housing crisis happened, and they discovered that the cost to landfill the buildings was like $30 million.
Jesus.
So they were like, well, we can't do that.
Yeah.
Not right now. So they'd always just call me down and be like, oh, we got some, some friends down here. Can you come give us a tour? And they didn't even know the subtunnels were there. So he took them beneath it and was like, oh yeah, did you know that this is here?
Oh my God, I would get lost.
Yeah,
Right.
they're like steam tunnels.
So
I
I'm
can't
picturing.
even imagine that.
I'm picturing like a dark tunnel with like hanging lights, like you can't really see much, and everything just like echoes, and it's really cold. And the floor isn't tiled; it's just like concrete,
Yeah.
right? And there's like some drains on the side,
Yes.
little rats running by,
Yes.
kind of smell. I'm literally describing
So-
like the Philadelphia transportation system.
Okay. Funny.
So, people that go to the haunted house now and they go into the tunnels and they're like, wow, this is so scary and creepy. You don't understand what it was like to go into those tunnels back when these buildings were abandoned. I mean, it's darkness like you can't believe. And you'd walk in there and you'd take a step and it would just echo
Oh no!
for 30 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Just you'd hear it just going down the walls and turning.
Wow.
And you could hear it coming back. It was the scariest thing. And over the years, kids had broken in and spray painted graffiti everywhere, just like
Naturally, because kids are the
arrows,
best.
just like like hell this way.
Right.
Oh my
like,
God. Wow.
um,
How original.
Enter the lair of the phantom and be killed.
What?
Oh,
Yeah.
I would
that.
love to meet who came up with that.
I would love to meet the Phantom and be killed.
The Phantom was all he was. A Phantom, if you're listening to this,
Give
I
us
want to
5
say
stars on
I appreciate
iTunes.
your work. You spray painted every single surface in all of Pennhurst.
Wow. You're a busy man.
Very busy. So one of the other weird things I have that kind of connects me to Pennhurst is actually my career started there.
Oh.
Like I said, so we lived so close. We knew the owners that took over, and they filmed a horror movie there that at the time was called Pennhurst. Later, the name was changed to The Lost Episode. It was a horror movie directed by Michael Rooker, starring Haley Duff and Beverly Mitchells.
Wait,
Oh my
I've
God,
never
Haley
heard of
Duff.
that.
No one has heard of this. No.
Stop.
Wait, is
Where
it out?
this?
Oh
Hidden
yeah, this movie
gem.
came out years ago.
Oh.
Wow. Let's watch it.
I'm damp.
It is. It is
Something
something
else.
else.
That's all you can say about
And
it.
as a high school kid interested in film at the time, I they told me it was happening, and I rode my bike down. Just kind of rode my bike on set and was like, "Hey, can I? You guys need any help?"
Right.
And they were like, "Oh, we're kind of full staffed right now." And I was like, "You don't have to pay me." They were like, "Here's a walkie, kid. Welcome
luck.
aboard."
Right.
So I actually kind of I started working in the film industry.
Oh shit, I never knew that.
Yeah, I just sort of walked on set.
Wow, that's that really set the bar high.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, my first movie was working with Beverly Mitchell and Hillary Duff's sister.
Right. Look at that.
But I remember there was a lot of like nights on that. Obviously, the movie, just so you know, was about a ghost hunting crew that goes to Pennhurst, literally
Naturally.
to Pennhurst,
Original.
to investigate the story of Dr. Death, the insane doctor of Pennhurst who tortured all of his patients.
It's original.
And then, of course, they one by one start to get killed by Dr. Death.
Well, fucking spoiler alert. Jesus, didn't
Well,
see that one coming.
Thanks for telling us.
I'm sorry if you could somehow manage to find a copy of this movie.
Oh, I wonder what it got on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm actually going to check right now.
Probably
if it's
a
even
4.
on there.
True.
But I remember one night we were out like outside, kind of like wandering around, and at the I didn't really understand how the film industry works in what there's decorum with actors, so I was walking around with the actors, 16-year-old me, like I'm
Right.
coming with you guys.
How's it going?
Wait, were you hanging out with Beverly Mitchell?
Yes, I was hanging out with Beverly
Shut
Mitchell.
up. You hang out with all the celebrities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically. Craig's famous.
And Beverly Mitchell goes wandering off. She's like, "Oh, I want to see what's going on over here." And she like walks off into the darkness. And 30 seconds later, she just starts screaming and comes running out, just screaming her head off.
Running out from the darkness.
And she's crying. She's like, oh my God, like, I was just over there looking around, and I swear I heard boots running at me, like heavy footsteps running at her.
Oh no.
And,
Dr. Death.
everyone had their flashlights, and there's nothing over there. And me being me, she's just crying. I looked at her and I went, it's probably raccoons. And she turns to me and screams, it's not fucking raccoons!
Oh no. Where is your seventh heaven now, Beverly?
Right. Bev.
She was in seventh heaven. I don't know if you
Yeah,
remember
I know.
that. Okay, just
I used to
checking.
be obsessed with that too.
That's cool.
But that was a fun job because I just got to wander around Pennhurst.
With
And
celebrities.
after they had cleared everything out,
Do you think it was a ghost or do you think it was like a homeless person?
no, we didn't see anything. So,
Ooh.
Ooh,
So it could have been a ghost.
they could have been angry that we were in there making a...
Oh my God, that was the turtles, and I that just scared the shit out of me. Okay, wow,
This one wants to be my friend so bad. Every time I talk to him, her. Hi.
Sarah, we are doing a podcast.
Sorry.
Stop talking to my turtles.
Sorry. Hey guys.
But yeah, I think the ghosts were probably mad that we were making just a god-awful film.
Yeah,
They were like, this is how we're going to be remembered.
Right. And this
And I
awful
think
film.
they cursed the movie because
didn't do well.
well, not only that, but a year later, after I'd graduated high school and was about to go to film school, I got a phone call for my first paid job ever. And they're like, oh, we need just like an extra electrician. It's on the reshoots of some movie called Pennhurst.
Stop.
And I was like, wait, we're going back?
We're going back.
We're
Wait,
going
I was like,
back?
you guys finished filming this movie a year ago, and it's not done. They had to come back and shoot an entire different framework for the movie because
Oh,
it didn't
Jesus.
work.
Oh,
They
no.
couldn't cut it together.
Yikes. How do you miss that?
I
I feel like it happens.
Oh.
yeah, they turned.
I've had to do
they-
some. You and I had to go to a reshoot that was like. Did you go to that?
Which one?
The reshoot for that one movie that we did
That one movie?
where we met.
I don't remember.
It was like 8 months later. It was almost a year later.
I don't think I did.
Oh
I
fuck.
think I was on something else at that time.
Oh damn. Yeah, I remember it wasn't everybody, but yeah, I had to do a reshoot for a couple of things, and that was always weird. Returning to a bunch of people that, yeah, so that's a whole different thing. But okay, how about ghosts? Do we got some ghost stories?
Sure. So this was the one that my brother got famous for.
Okay.
He was down with one of the owners and my dad, and they were wandering around, and they looked up into a window, and they saw like a person in the window, like staring back at them, like a form, and they're like, "Oh, it's got to be
Somebody.
like a kid. Like, let's go catch him and find him." So they like, kick the door open, which was locked, and they run up there, and they realize that the window was behind it, like, so it was a screen, and then the shades were behind the screen, so there was no way to pull it back.
Oh my god.
So somehow, like, the shades got pulled back for this person to be there.
Oh damn.
Yeah, and there's no way to
And
go
the
through. It was
door
like a
was locked.
steel mesh screen.
Oh, right. Oh my god,
Oh,
that's
no.
bizarre.
And I mean, I've been in there, and I've been in there at night lots of times, and it's, there's just this like weird feeling,
It's always a
especially
feeling.
being in there at
Or-
night. Because like you're like, I'm the only person in here in this.
You would like to think. Wait, have you gone there by yourself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no.
See, I say that now, but my ass would go because I feel like a bunch of people wouldn't want to fucking go with me. Sarah, would you go with me?
Yeah, I would go.
Oh, thanks. Have you done a Ouija board there?
No, I've never done.
Please
a Ouija
don't.
board
Oh,
there.
frick.
Do not recommend. I would probably go in there. You'd have to pull me and my eyes would be shut the whole time.
I do remember when I was a kid. I don't know why I did this, but I used to go in there all the time when I was young, and I remember going in there once and like turning off my flashlight and like lighting a candle
No.
and just being like, I just want to know if anything will happen. Blow it out if it happens.
Did it go out?
No,
Oh, fuck.
because it
I
was
feel like they
it
know
was like
you.
it was like 2:00 in the afternoon, and I
Oh.
was like 12.
Well, what would you have done if it went out? I'd probably run.
Sprinted as
Right.
fast as my fat little legs could carry me. I was a chubby kid.
So was I. Still here. So has anything weird happened in your house, or was it everything like at Pennhurst that was
So-
weird?
Let me talk a little bit about my street. I always like to say my street's the weirdest street in Pennsylvania.
Love it.
So not only is Pennhurst on this street, but it's a very old street. I mean, Pennhurst was built in like 1908. the house across from me is a schoolhouse from like the like early 1800s. My house was built in like 1890. So all the houses are very old. And just to give you a rundown, the guy at the top of the hill was a doctor at Pennhurst, and he ended up blowing his brains out with a shotgun. The guy that lived in my house fell under a train and got his legs cut off.
What? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
The guy at the bottom of the hill fell into a corn thresher.
What?
What's a corn thresher?
You know, like those giant spinny...
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Okay,
And
he fell into one of those.
This was years ago.
Is
I mean,
it-
a
was it-
long time ago.
Was it turned on, I assume?
Yeah, it was in the winter. And they had to defroze. They had to bring him into the barn to thaw him out.
Oh my god.
Oh my
Stop. That
God.
is bizarre.
That's one way to exfoliate your skin. I'm
Right.
sorry that was not sensitive of me, but holy fuck.
And just like all manner of like weird
weird
like,
shit
just
happened to the
weird
people who were
shit.
on your street.
It's funny. Someone actually moved into my neighbor's house, and my mom went over to talk to her. I don't know why she said it, but she was like, "Yeah, the only way off of this street's in a body bag."
Oh, my
wow.
God, Mom!
Right.
It's like, Mom, what are you doing to the new neighbors?
Well, welcome to the neighborhood. I make a great ambrosia salad if you'd like to come over for the barbecue.
We're
In
serving
a body
real.
bag.
Don't
We're serving real human parts.
don't fall into my my well. I have a like the ring. I have a ring style well.
Oh,
Okay.
No.
Is
Yeah.
it closed? Like, is there a lid on it?
No, we have a piece of metal on it with a rock on top.
That's a good
Love
security.
that.
Yeah,
Right.
whenever anyone comes over, like, take a look at our horror well.
Here we are,
fuck?
and this is Pennhurst.
Now that's how you really get the ladies. It's like, hey, you want to
see-
see my?
You want to see my well?
I'll show you my dark hole if you show me yours.
Okay.
You need a high intensity flashlight to really see it, though.
Oh Jesus Christ, she's like mine too. Oh frick.
There was like one weird incident I remember. So, like I said, the guy that got his legs cut off by a train ended up living like a full life for the most part. He didn't die.
Well, a half-life.
But he
actually,
did die.
If you think
He
about
did
it.
die later.
a leg
I
joke.
believe in the house.
Okay, of course. Why wouldn't
It was either my house or my neighbor's house. They owned both the properties. It was
Oh.
but we share. Like, we're basically the same house, pretty
he?
much.
Okay, right.
And I remember once when I was younger, I'd hurt my foot and I was on crutches, and so I had these crutches in the house, right? And we had come home from a movie theater. I specifically remember we were seeing Nosferatu, which was
Why were they
weirder.
playing that at a theater?
It was
I
a
love
live
that.
orchestra. It was a live orchestra. It was really cool.
Okay.
But I opened the door, and I swear the lights flickered, and I just saw this like thing
Oh,
like
no.
brush past, like just like run past. And the only thing I could think of was like, well, this guy did die in my house, and then I had these crutches.
Oh no, the
Some
legless
sort of-
ghost.
Some sort of weird.
He was pissed that your legs were fine.
Oh,
His weren't.
That's fucked up. That's some scary shit. Right after you see Nosferatu too, it's just like it's not what
like-
you want to be opening
I was
doors.
like, it's
and
just
seeing
it's
shit.
compounding, right?
Right. That's crazy.
There's also a weird thing too, where like cats are attracted to my house.
Oh, of course they are.
Like there's always just cats like everywhere.
Well, are you feeding them? Because if you feed them, they come back.
Well, I mean, like after they show up for like a month, like,
Okay.
they
I'm
just
fi-
get like
That's
brought
You
into
feel
the stable.
obligated at that point to feed the cats.
Yeah, they follow my dad around. He's some sort of cat magnet.
Ooh.
That's okay. So, what do you go to the haunted house now at Pennhurst?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd like to go and just kind of see what's happening with it.
So, is it? My assumption would be that it's now harder to get in.
Oh, it's basically impossible. They have it locked up real tight because now they have liability insurance.
Right.
So like if you
Right.
get hurt here,
It's.
and they've really repaired a lot of it. Back then, I remember one time we were in there, and I think I was in there like with my dad and like my Boy Scout troop leader and like a couple Boy Scouts.
Okay.
And I remember walking into up to a door, a room, and I remember seeing something on a chair across the room. And I went walking into the room to like be like, "What's this thing?" And my Boy Scout leader grabs me by my shirt and rips me back. And I was like, "Hey," I'm like probably 6, 7 at the time. And he's like, "You just died." And I look in, and the whole floor had dropped out of the room. It was
Oh,
just a
fuck.
pit.
Oh my god.
into the tunnels, into just darkness.
Holy shit, that ghost was trying to fucking kill you.
It sure was. It was trying to lure you into the dark hole.
I didn't even notice. I mean, I just like fell straight through into the sub basement.
That's fucking terrifying.
Right?
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah, me too. See, the thing is, it's like everyone in my town, or like at least everyone like in my area, would go in there all the time. It was just like a part of our daily life. It
seemed that way, by the way you tell it.
Summer Saturdays, we're going into Pennhurst. My neighbor used to go in and steal wheelchairs and tie them to the back of his 4-wheeler and just ride around.
Why? Just for fun?
Someone would sit in the wheelchair and
But weren't they like rusted and like
exactly.
broken?
You do it till they just fall apart.
That's safe.
So it's kind of odd that like this thing that is this source of horror and like superstition to so many people, to me growing up was just part of my childhood.
Right.
And now I understand how odd that is and how weird that is.
But you didn't know any different.
I didn't know any different.
Right.
I just thought that like this spooky stuff was just
A
part of
every...
it's part of small town living.
Right.
It's not. It's not.
I've come to learn that.
My neighbor across the street, I actually totally kind of forgot about this until just now. My neighbor, like directly across the street when I lived in Illinois, they had a graveyard like in their backyard and they had a pool. It was like an in-ground pool, so they were really pushing it there. But I went over there with one of my brother's friends who was older, and he was like a hunter dude, so he was all into like weird. He was super daring and would do anything. So what I remember is there was like a weird coffin that was kind of up above the ground, but it was stone, so it may not have been, but it looked like
a mausoleum type thing.
No, it was above the ground, as in like like it was supposed to be underground, but it had peeked its way up. It was poking up through the top of it, and he reached into it, and he pulled out a fucking bone. Turns out it was just a fox bone, but in my child head, I was just like, a fucking human bone.
Right.
Yeah. Didn't go swimming in that in-ground pool, but you saying that, I totally actually forgot that was in like my neighbor's back, like in their backyard. Mm-hmm. Yeah, fun times.
Yeah.
Just wanted to put my story out there.
I love that. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
So we did know this one girl. She was very interesting. She actually got in contact with us after a couple of the ghost shows. 'Cause she wanted to like, I guess, compare notes.
Okay.
She, like, I talked to her like a little bit, like when I was like 13. I'm like talking to this like 17-year-old girl. I'm like, I'm cool. And then I was like, oh wait, you're kind of crazy. She was like, I am in love with Pennhurst. I am physically in love with it. I am married to it. She would go in and sleep there. She said she would go in and sleep there in a wedding dress.
Oh.
Okay. Well, that went left really quick.
Right?
All
I
right.
was not expecting that. I was like, okay, you're in love with it? Cool. You like weird shit? I do too.
That's like, there was one lady who got married to a bridge. Did you see that?
I feel like that shit is really like, there's got to be something, like some type of energy that pulls you, like, to do that. I feel like there's like more to the...
Right? How come a bridge can get some, but here I am, single as a Pringle.
You'll get there.
Thank you.
Have you tried becoming a giant, like 200,000 square foot
I'm
abandoned complex?
I'm working on it.
love
I've got the abandonment going on.
Inside, I am.
Abandonment.
Yes, I'm an empty building.
It's true.
We have some cute questions for you.
Oh, great! I love cute questions.
All right. Well, the first one you already answered, and the first one was, have you played... Well, no, maybe you... Have you played with the Ouija board before? You said you didn't play with the Ouija board in Pennhurst.
As a kid, a little bit, but never seriously.
Oh, okay.
How do you feel about them?
I don't know. I don't personally. I don't know. I think there's too much room for questions. There's too much room for people to insert their own games.
What do you mean? Like if you have like a group of people, you think someone's up to something?
I don't trust enough people.
Okay.
Right.
Like
To,
I don't
not
trust
fuck
you
with-
not to,
Be the one who's fucking
Yeah.
with me. That's true.
because I feel like I would do it.
I mean, I got 2 Ouija boards right there. What's good?
Oh, not in this house. I'll leave.
Yeah, we shouldn't in this house. Weird things have happened.
So are you superstitious?
In some ways,
Okay.
not particularly. I think certain things should be respected.
Right.
Okay.
But I'm not, like a black cat crosses my path. I'm going to go try and pet it.
All right. So
I love that.
really quick. So we had recorded with our friend Kiko not that long ago. She was probably like 2 episodes ago. Sarah, I didn't even tell you this. So I'm, after we record, she had told us about like the black butterfly that visits her, and it's her grandma. Sarah, Kiko, and I go to a thrift store, and a giant like butterfly flies past us. So that was crazy. And Kiko was like, oh, hey, grandma. So I'm driving Kiko home from Sarah's house, and driving, and her and I are literally talking about the butterfly situation. And then I slow down because like there's a black cat on the side of the road, and I turned to Kiko. I was like, if this fucking black cat walks in front of my car, I'm gonna be so pissed. So it looks like it's gonna go like into the grass. Well, it darts in front of my fucking car.
Love that.
And Kiko's like, oh, of course that would happen because you said it. Drive a little bit further down the road, and it's like one of the it was on Front Street, so there's like train tracks above us, and like this it's hard for me to explain to the people who don't know what I'm talking about. But if you're trying to turn onto that main road, it's really hard to see any oncoming cars. Well, I'm driving on that. I have the right of way, and a fucking car comes out, blows the stop sign, and almost T-bones us right immediately after this black cat situation.
Yo.
So I would say I'm a little bit more superstitious than I was before.
Right.
Tosses salt over the shoulder. Okay, so,
Funny.
so you are in a horror movie. So are you the final girl, the first to die, the comic relief, the skeptic, the smart one, or the killer?
Oh, I'm the first to die.
You think?
Oh, easily. I'm the guy that like runs.
Too
like,
curious.
I'm the guy that like grabs a bat. And I'm like, I'm gonna go see what's going on out there.
And then fucking walks
And then,
into
like-
a room and falls down.
And then like
the
30
fucking
seconds
tunnels.
later, my head gets sent in through the window,
Severed.
and everyone's like, "Oh my god, it is real."
Yeah, so you're the catalyst for everyone to believe that there is a killer
Yeah.
out there. As long as there's no stoves.
It's
You're
my one
good.
weakness.
If you were given the death penalty, what would your last meal be?
Big... This is gonna say it's a big bowl of nectarines.
Okay, that's
Would be my choice.
Okay.
nice.
Like, are they? How do you like them? Just like just a
no,
big
don't
bowl
just put them right there. Just take the tag off.
Wow.
Like
This
All right.
boy loves himself a nectar.
I do. I love them.
No follow-up questions. Okay, so here's a really interesting one. Okay, I should have asked you this earlier. Were there not urban legends going on in your area, or was it just like, were there urban legends that were going on? If so, did you believe any, or did they scare you?
It's weird. There weren't really urban legends because it was just such an accepted
Right.
part of life. It was just we all knew it all the time. Like it wasn't odd to us. Like in our town, in our area, like people slightly out of the way. If you lived like 25, 30 minutes away, you'd be like, I've never heard of this place. What is it?
Right.
So for us, it was sort of like I knew more about it. Like I knew more than anyone else did. The fact that I knew about it was the urban legend. The urban legend was, did you know that this place exists?
Ooh.
Like I've
See,
heard
but I was
about
thinking
this.
like y'all didn't talk about no crazy doctors like they were trying to make in that Beverly Mitchell movie.
No, because both my parents worked there.
So you knew
I
the
knew
ins and
like I
outs.
knew what went on there. Like I knew what happened. Like I knew what day-to-day life was.
Okay.
Which horror movie murder or death did you find most disturbing?
So like, have you ever watched a movie and like seen like a murder or a death scene?
Yeah, and
been like, wow, that
that's
fucked
fucked
me
up.
up.
Jinx. I would probably either have to say, I don't know if it was the person technically died, but Audition, the piano wire.
Oh my God. I watched that years ago. Oh,
Uh,
he's like on the floor, right? On the kitchen floor or something?
Yeah, and the girl's got the piano wire on the leg, and he's just like slicing his leg off.
Love that.
Saw 2, the needle pit.
Ooh.
Oh, triggered.
Yeah, for me, it's less that like when they like if you die, you're dead, you're out of that. But it's when they have
That's
to
a
like when they're prolonged, and anything having to do with teeth.
Okay, yeah. That's fucked up. I like teeth. You know what's kind of fucked up? When I was a kid, I used to pull my teeth out.
Oh,
I don't
Would
know.
they be loose?
Kind of. I would wake up in the morning. My family likes to remind me of this. I was a weird child. I would have like, if my tooth was like slightly loose, it was out by the end of the day. I would sit in my bathroom for hours and just like hack at it or like I would do all the tricks in the book.
Oh, yeah.
The doorknob thing never fucking works. Like I remember when my brother lost his first tooth and I witnessed it. It was in a grilled cheese sandwich. I was in kindergarten. I was so jealous and I don't know why. He was crying. There was blood everywhere, and I was like, I want that.
No, honestly, I was the same way. My grandfather apparently, I know this. He could pull your teeth out so quick that you didn't even know they were out.
Oh.
See, but I kind of enjoyed the pain on the way there.
Okay.
Am
On the
I
way
a
there?
weird- Yeah, I would literally sit in the bathroom
No,
for
you're not
hours.
weird at all.
Like I would play with it. Like I just wanted to
Yeah, when it was on the
coming.
string, and
Yes.
then that last like relief.
like
Ooh.
when it's
I cried when it was my last tooth too, and I knew this was my last.
it's something
one.
you'll never get to experience again.
Well, I mean, I could. I was thinking about getting veneers, but I think
They literally, your real teeth rot under them.
under the veneers.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they just pull them all out.
No, they cap them.
Oh,
That's scary.
maybe I'll pull mine out anyway.
They cap them on there, and then they just, your real teeth decay.
Ugh, I'm real weird about teeth.
Me too.
Never even had a cavity. I'm like,
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, no.
okay.
Yes,
No.
oral hygiene.
mouth.
Yes, you have really nice teeth.
Thank you.
Would you sleep inside of a coffin for an entire night?
Above ground?
Yeah.
Let's say above ground. Yes.
No,
Really?
no,
I wouldn't do
no.
it.
I'm no, definitely scared of
No.
like
Small
being buried
spaces?
alive. I don't like small spaces.
Mhm.
I don't like still air,
Yeah.
and I'm scared of being buried alive. So that's
I-
like that checks all
yep.
the boxes.
See, I didn't know I was afraid of that until I was watching Kill Bill 2, and that scene of her, that is Kill Bill 2, right?
Yes,
Where she's
yes.
buried alive. Yeah, no. It like did something to me that kind of fucked me up.
No, same.
Yeah, so
Like
I feel
honestly,
you
I don't
on
even want to be buried in a coffin. I just want my body to be thrown in the woods.
Just
Just let
eat
the
me.
foxes get at it.
Right.
It's more useful.
It's true. Well,
You could feed
that's
some animal.
that's a whole side note. That's like a whole argument people are having. Well, there's this YouTuber. Her name is Caitlin Dowdy, and she's a mortician, and she's very pro like do what you want with your own corpse, and there's like laws against just kind of throwing a body in the woods. But she like wants people to just be buried without being in a box, because then like your remains kind of go
Like,
back to
being
Earth.
buried
Yeah.
now at like modern. It's you get not only are you embalmed, so you're not even a person. You're like a plastic doll.
Right.
You're put in a metal coffin,
It's
and
a
then
lot
you're
of money.
and then you're put in a cement box.
Yeah.
So you never get to decay. Like I want to become part of the soil, or side note, I just want my body to be launched into space,
Oh, that'd be cool.
just on a path towards the sun.
Love that.
Okay,
And
but
then you just take like probably 100,000 years, and then one day your body just gets vaporized,
that'd be incredible.
just turns into sunlight.
Does space not scare
Wow.
you though?
No.
Space scares the shit out of me.
Oceans scare me. Space
Oceans
scares
scare me too. Sarah and I watched a video years ago of people who sent a slice of pizza to space, and I tweaked out. I was
You
also a
did.
little under the influence of a little something, but I tweaked out.
Do you believe in multiple dimensions or worlds?
Ooh,
Yes.
that was a deep question.
I love that.
No, totally. I love that idea. Like it's
Yeah, same.
Okay,
Somewhere I could escape to. Love that.
I don't know if it's like there's like another world.
Yeah,
like it's
but
like this
there's-
world, but in this other dimension, I didn't pick up this cup.
Right.
But I think there's something.
Yeah, same.
yeah,
There's a lot we don't know.
Yeah.
yeah.
Even on like a micro scale. Or
Exactly.
I saw an article that someone was saying ghosts sometimes. Of course, it's a theory because you can't really prove this, but like ghosts sometimes travel through walls because there wasn't a wall there when they died. So like in their like realm, somebody drew like a map of like a little blueprint, and they were like, this is where the bedroom was, this is where the entrance was, and the ghost would walk this way, but then they rebuilt it and it wasn't like that. So I wonder if ghosts are like stuck in a different dimension.
Well, I would be more inclined to believe that ghosts are like some sort of more of like a recording than they are like a
present
like
time
a
lost
conscious
soul.
entity.
Huh.
Like versus a ghost being like, I'm gonna look at that guy, I'm gonna go haunt him, versus a ghost that's just like some sort of energy that's just locked forever in some sort of sequence, some sort of like imprint.
That's
Wow.
very sad, don't you think?
It's not conscious.
Oh, so you don't think it's conscious? You just think
No.
it's like some energy? Okay.
Or like a single thought, some sort of,
Right.
just repeated indefinitely.
Interesting. Okay. I lost my page. Chocolate candy or fruity sweet chewy candy?
Fruity, sweet, chewy.
What's your favorite?
I guess it's not exactly as chewy, but Jolly Ranchers.
Okay.
Jolly Ranchers, and I know this is going to contradict it, but frozen peanut M&Ms.
Oh, frozen.
Not because I even like I don't really care that much about chocolate, but the
Peanuts.
texture, like the crunch.
Oh yeah,
Love
that is a
Love
good
a good
crunch.
crunch.
Like when it just pops. It's like getting your teeth pulled out.
Oh, love that. So you're weird about teeth, but you like that.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Cool. Favorite horror monster or killer?
Definitely my favorite horror monster are Wendigos.
Oh, what are they?
Oh, I've seen a picture of it looking in a door, right? It's like a scary
So
dog.
a Wendigo is a Native American hunger spirit.
Oh.
And it's mainly, I guess like the story kind of goes, it's like if you're lost in the woods, like with people and there's no food, and you get, like if you resort to cannibalism, what happens is like this, like it's like this demon almost. It's usually displayed as kind of like a skeleton with antlers or like kind of like a deer type thing.
Yeah.
And basically by like indulging in cannibalism, you allow this creature inside of you. And it sort of like makes you kind of into like this like monster, like a cannibal. You crave human flesh.
Wow.
Me too.
And it's like, yeah, you know, it's a very interesting.
Yeah.
I actually
Monster.
have definitely heard of that.
Wendigo. Nice.
Because I like monsters more that you bring upon yourself
Yeah. 'cause
versus
like you
ones
can't
that are just
get
like, I'm
away
just
from
out to
them.
kill you. You know, it's
Girl,
like,
I
no,
got-
it's like it's your mistakes.
Listen, I got enough demons going on in this old body of mine. Okay, Hocus Pocus or Halloween Town?
Ooh.
It's not so hard.
Two just classic jams right there.
You gotta pick one.
Oh, God.
Like, you can never watch it again.
I could never. All right.
Not only can you never watch it again, but every memory of it is wiped from your brain.
I gotta go Hocus Pocus. Although I will say, I definitely think, like, as a kid, I definitely had a crush on the girl from Halloween Town.
didn't?
Kimberly J. Brown.
Yeah. So, how many children have been seriously injured or killed from poison candy given to them by strangers during Halloween?
By
Okay,
strangers?
Trivia. I don't.
0?
Yes.
It's always the parents.
It's the parents
Like when they're
that
like,
give
we
them
found these
poison
needles in
shit.
my kid's cat. I'm like, you did that.
Well, but
You just wanted to be on the news.
Oh my god! Wow. Yeah, I've never thought of that.
they were having the needles in the strawberries though lately. Did you see that?
That was in Australia, wasn't it?
Down under, yeah.
Did you see that thing where it's like, be careful of gummies, they're edibles, and then there's like that thing that's like, no one would give your child edibles for free on Halloween. Trust me.
Right.
Like
They say you don't take like drugs from strangers, but like
Listen,
No one would give their edibles away.
Halloween candy is expensive enough. Like people have a hard time spending like $2 for the full size Snickers bar. Like you think someone's spending $15
to
per
get your kid high.
Right. To see
I
your kids
love that.
high and run around? No.
You're never gonna see them. They wander off. You get no payoff.
That's
Okay,
true.
we're gonna do rapid fire questions.
Shoot,
Skittles or Starburst?
Skittles,
Haunted house or haunted hayride?
haunted house,
Would you rather be attacked by werewolf or vampire?
vampire,
Pumpkin seeds or pumpkin pie?
pie,
Black bats or black cats?
cats,
Murder weapon of choice?
hammer,
What is your favorite part of Halloween?
costumes for sure. Actually, it's definitely being able to like wander around, like as a kid, just, being able to just wander around the town and be like, I own this.
Right.
Like open
For
your
real?
door and pay tribute to me.
Give me your goods
Favorite serial killer and why?
if you have one, or someone who's intrigued you.
Oh, easy. H.H. Holmes.
Tell me why I keep calling him H.H. Greg.
Because that's a store.
It's a furniture store,
Right.
isn't it?
I thought it was like
Discounted.
computer goods.
Oh, it
might
can
be.
be.
Okay, H.H. Greg. That's what hotel in Chicago. Right?
H.H. Holmes. You call him H.H. Greg again.
H.H. Greg. Fuck me.
H.H. Greg. Yes.
Yeah, H.H. Holmes, you know?
Yeah, he was at American Horror Story hotel. I almost just said
He's
Coven.
basically him, but my
Am
name
I-
is H.H. Holmes and I'm coming for your bones.
Oh, is that a
Love that.
song?
There is a song about it.
Oh, I
Okay,
like
cool.
that.
I like that he would sell the skeletons. Like
Yeah.
not only would he kill you, but he would like get a
Make
net
money.
he'd make a net profit off of his murder.
He's
like,
a
that you
smart
would
man.
pay him to go to his hotel. He would kill you and then sell your skeleton.
You're long gone, but he's still making money off of it.
Right.
for sure.
Love that.
Absolutely. Okay, pumpkin carving or pumpkin painting?
Carving.
Yeah,
Come
fuck
on.
painting. Who came up with that question?
Paintings for children that aren't allowed to have knives.
Freddy or Jason?
Jason.
Love that. Okay, well, I think that is everything we've got. Thank you so much, Craig, for
Thank
being
you,
here
Craig.
Thank you for having me.
and sharing your creepy stories.
I do have another one I can tell too.
Oh, okay. Wait, oh, there's more.
There's more.
So I just something that just I just remembered. It was a story actually from my dad when he worked there. Back when Pennhurst was still open, you wouldn't see this nowadays, but patients were still allowed to smoke on the ward, but they weren't allowed to have lighters or matches. So everyone carried 2 lighters with them at all times,
Right.
so that when you go on a ward, all of a sudden everyone would just turn to you and just like walk over with cigarettes, and you literally would just light both of your lighters, and you just walk through the wards just lighting
Oh my
cigarettes
God.
as you went.
Oh, that's weird and
Right.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's really weird. Actually, something I noticed too, like, if you ever saw the movie Shutter Island,
Yeah.
yes.
Leonardo DiCaprio never lights his own cigarettes. The
Huh.
whole at the beginning of the movie, he's like
Oh,
looking
fuck.
for his lighter, and
Oh,
his buddy's
fuck.
like, "Let me get that for you," and lights his cigarettes
Oh.
because patients aren't allowed to have lighters.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
It all makes sense.
Wait, that just like I feel like I just relived the plot twist of that ending
Same.
all over.
It's right
again.
there. It's the first scene.
Wow,
Gives it
holy
away.
shit! But that's crazy because I wouldn't have known that.
No, at first scene I was like, "Oh, he's crazy because
Whoa.
he doesn't have a lighter.
Right.
Like, he's clearly a
Wow.
mental
See?
patient."
One thing that he knows that we didn't, because he had Pennhurst in
There
his
you
life.
go. Holy shit. Well, thank you again, Craig. And thank you guys for listening. You know where to find us. We'll be posting pictures. Check Instagram and our Twitter. We'll be posting pictures of Pennhurst and things that Craig was talking about today. If you guys have a second, please go to wherever you are listening to us. Make sure you're subscribed. If there's like a notification, John, turn that on. And on Apple iTunes, hit us with that 5-star. Thank you.
And a rating.
Yeah, thanks for the new ratings. We really appreciate it. And thank you guys for listening. And don't forget to email us your ghost stories because we're going to continue reading those as well. Bye.
Bye.